Okay, welcome to another O-level math video. This is Algebra word problems paper 2. So you are allowed a calculator on these questions. These questions are longer, tougher. The word problems of this sort of category appear on paper 2 only. So you will have these with a calculator. Let's start solving. Question number 1 says factorize completely. I think that's a relatively simple question. I factor out a 5 and I'm left with 40 square minus 1. Now I see a difference of squares. So 40 square is a square of 2t and 1 is the square of 1. So I'm going to get 5, 2t minus 1 and 2t plus 1. I think that was simple. Let's move on to the next question. It says express as a single fraction in its simplest form. I think that is also simple. You take a common denominator. Now, again, as with reference to the previous video, the lowest common multiple or the common denominator in this is going to be 6x. The repeated factor comes up only once. So 2 and 3 come up once and x comes up once only, although x is with word terms. Don't write 6x squared, it's going to mess up your calculations. Okay, so multiplied by 3 and multiplied by 2. Okay, in order to make 6x in the denominator, I have to multiply these fractions. I multiply the numerator as well. So 21 minus 10. So I get 11 over 6x. I think that should be the final answer. Yes, that is the final answer. Okay, then C. Tickets for a concert were priced at $5, $8, and $12. The number of tickets sold was twice the number of $8 tickets. The number of $12 tickets sold was 80 more than the number of $8 tickets. The number of $8 tickets sold was X. So this was X. Find an expression in terms of X for the total sum of money received from the sale of the number of tickets. So for these tickets, it's simple that I had X tickets and I had $8 as one value. So that is 8X. 8 times X. So that means 8X. How many were number of $12 tickets sold was 80 more than. So can I say that these were basically 80 plus X? So I'm going to write 12 into 80 plus X. And the number of $5 tickets sold was twice the number of $8 tickets sold. So the number of $8 tickets sold was X. Therefore, the number was 2X then. Okay. So this would give me 5 times 2X. So I have 8X plus 960 plus 12X plus 10X. That gives me 20 and 30X plus 960. Then part 2 says, that was C part 1. Part 2 says, given that 9360 was received from the sale of tickets, so I'm going to say that 30x plus 960 equals to 9360. So what do I get then after that? 9360 minus 960. And I divide by 30. Okay, it says form an equation in X, solve this equation and hence find the total number of tickets. I'm not just looking for X, I'm looking for the total number of tickets sold. So X was 280. Now X was the number of $8 tickets. So that's 280. But I also need to find the number of $12 tickets, which was 80 more than. So I'm going to say that was X plus 80. So what is 280 plus 80? That is 360. And then there was 2X as well. So that was 560. 2 times 280. Okay, 280 plus 360 plus 560 gives me 1200 tickets. Okay, so that is a relatively simple algebra word problem for you. Okay, moving on to the next question. These are typical questions on speed, time, and so on. We will see these repeatedly in this worksheet as well. We have about 10 questions in this worksheet. It says the distance between two houses P and Q is 200 kilometers. Joe traveled by car from P to Q at an average speed of X kilometers per hour. Write down an expression in terms of x with the number of hours. So you know that speed is equals to distance over time. Time should be equals to distance over speed. I think that's relatively simple to write down. So a becomes distance is time equals to distance over speed. So 200 over x. Okay, he returned from P to Q, Q to P at an average speed of x plus 5. Write down an expression in terms of x. So again, the distance remains the same because he is traveling back from his destination. So 200 over x plus 5. Okay, for the number of hours he took to travel. The total time he took to go from P to Q and to return from Q to P was 8 hours. So can I say that this time plus this time would be 8, and it says write down an equation in x and show that it simplifies. Okay, so I know that that's simple. So 200 over x plus 200 over x plus 5 should equal 8. I should simplify this and get you this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take common denominator x into x plus 5. This gets multiplied with x plus 5 because it's missing that in the denominator, and this gets multiplied with x equals to 8. So 200 into x plus 5 plus 200 into x. So that gives me 200x plus 1000 plus 200x equals to 8 times x plus 5. I cross multiplied this as well because I wanted everything in one line. So I have 400x plus 1000, 8x squared plus 40x. So I get 8x squared plus 40x minus 400x minus 1000. 8x squared plus minus 360 x minus 1000. Now I don't have my format. Don't have the form that the question is asking. What I notice is that instead of x squared, I have 8x squared, which means that I need to divide this by 8. Does dividing by 8 solve the problem? But I can't just divide this by 8. I have to divide all the terms by 8, and even on the other side by 8. Okay, luckily for me, the other side is already 0, so that wouldn't matter. 8x squared divided by 8 gives me x squared. 360 divided by 8, does that give me 45? Yes, that does give me 45. That means that I'm going down the right road, and 1000 divided by 8 also gives me 25. 125, sorry, 125. Yeah, okay. So x squared minus 45x minus 125, this has the same effect as taking a common 8 and moving it to the other side, and that would be absolutely the same for you. Okay, part 2. Part 2 says solve the equation. How do I solve an equation? Solve a quadratic equation. X squared minus 45x minus 125 equals to 0. So, and it says to correct to two decimal places, it's obvious that you need to use the quadratic formula. This won't break down. You won't be able to break down the middle term in this case. So A is 1, B is minus 45, and C is minus 125. So you apply your quadratic formula, minus B plus minus B squared minus 4AC over 2A. 1 minus 45 minus 125. Okay, that gives me x as two values, 47.62 and one with the negative, so minus 2.62. Okay, that is three significant figures that can be written to correct. It says two decimal places. Okay, so I have to keep that as two decimal places. So those are my two answers for the equation. The question will probably tell me which one to use later on. It says calculate correct to the nearest minute the time it took to travel from P to Q. So the first time that I'm asking you is time from P to Q, which was, I know time was 200 over x. Now which x to use? Obviously x can't be negative because it was speed. So you'll use the first one and you'll say that 47.62. And that's going to give you hours because everything was set up in kilometers and hours. So 200 divided by 47.62. That gives me 4.1999. Okay, what does it say? Correct to the nearest minute. So I will have to convert this into minutes and hours if I want. Um, Hours is my choice. I can just write minutes. I can multiply this entire thing by 60 and say that I had 251.99 or 252 minutes. That should be my final answer. If I just wanted to write it in hours and minutes, I should have just multiplied 0.199 and I should have kept the 4 separately and told you that this comes out to be 4 hours and 12 minutes. Okay, since it doesn't say that, I can give you the answer correct to the nearest minute directly. Okay, that's the first question of this type. We're going to come across lots of questions of the same type. You can see this one is more or less the same. It says the route up a mountain is 20 kilometers long. John followed his route at an average speed of x kilometers per hour. Write down an expression in terms of x for the number of hours he took to walk up the mountain. So again, time is distance over speed. I'm going to say that the time is 20 over x. Then it says he came down the mountain by a different route. The length of this route was 25, so the distance has changed in this case. His average speed coming down the mountain was 2 kilometers greater per hour greater than his average speed going up the mountain. Write down an expression in terms of x for the number of hours he took to walk down. I think that's also simple. Time is again distance over speed, so 25. And the new speed, if the previous speed was x, the new speed should be x plus 2. Okay. It took John 1.5 hours less to come down than to go up. So this time was less. This time that he was coming down, it was less than the time going up. Write down an equation. So how do I construct an equation out of this? Can I say that time going up minus time coming down is 1 whole 1 over 2 or 1.5, whatever I want to say. Oh, I know that the time that he took to go up was definitely larger, so I've kept it first, and then I've subtracted the other one and said that time going up minus time going down is 1 whole 1 over 2. Then if I were to write the equations that I have, I would write down 20 over x. That was the first answer. So 20 over x minus 25 over x plus 2 is equals to 1 whole 1 over 2. I can write that as 1.5 if I want. I'm going to write that as 3 over 2 in the next step. I'm going to say that this is 3 over 2. Taking a common denominator, x into x plus 2, 20 into x plus 2, and 25 into x. Whatever they're missing in the denominator, I multiply that. So 20x plus 40 minus 25x. The whole thing multiplied by 2 actually. I'm cross multiplying again. 3x into x plus 2. So I get 40x plus 80 minus 50x equals to 3x squared plus 6x. Adding, subtracting things together, that's a minus 10x on the left hand side. So I'm going to bring that here and say that this becomes plus 10x and minus 80. Do I have the right answer? Yes, I have the right answer. Then the next part should be about solving the quadratic equation. I think that's simple. A3, B16 and C minus 80. You can use your quadratic formula, minus b root of b square minus 4ac over 2a. Put that on a calculator quickly. Once with the plus and once with the minus. With the plus I get 3 decimal places, so I'm going to write 3.145 for my calculator, and with the minus I get minus 8.479. Yes, Calculate to the nearest minute the total time John took to go up the mountain, up and come down the mountain. So I want to now calculate the total time that he took. So I can say that the total time would be both times added together. So that would be 20 over x plus 25 over x plus 2. Now I don't need to do any algebra. What I can simply do is I can use my calculator and say that I'm going to use the value that is positive. Why? Because the speed couldn't have been negative. I'm just going to put this as it is on my calculator. I've plugged in the values in front of you for the expression, and I'm just putting this on my calculator as it is. I am getting 11.218. So I'm going to convert this 0.218 into minutes. Am I going to convert that into minutes? I'm going to take 0.218 and multiply that by 60. That gives me with 13 minutes. 13.08. That means that it says the nearest minutes. I'm going to say 11 hours and 13 minutes. I could have done the entire thing in minutes as well, since there's no restriction in the question. Okay, that's the end of another question. Let's look at this. This is again something related to speed time. Let's quickly see this. It says Ahmed throws a ball to John. The ball travels 10 meters at an average speed of x meters per second. Write an expression in terms of x for the time taken in minutes, in seconds, for the ball to travel from Ahmed to John. So in terms of x for the time taken. So the ball travels 10 meters at an average speed of x meters per second. So the distance is 10 and the speed is x. Again, the time would be 10 divided by x. Okay. John then throws the ball to Pierre. The ball travels 15 meters. The ball's average speed is 0.5 per second, greater than the ball's average speed from Emmett to John. So I'm going to say that the time is now 15 divided by x plus 0.5. The speed has changed and so has the distance. Okay, I done in terms of x. Okay, that is what we have. The time taken from John catching the ball and then throwing it to Pierre is 2 seconds. The total time taken for the ball to travel from Ahmed to Pierre is 7 seconds. So let's read the names. Ahmed to John, and then John throws to Pierre, and then there's some transition time in between as well. It says write down a total expression, and the total time is 7 seconds. So I'm going to say that the first time that the ball was in the air was 10 over x. Then John held the ball. There was a transition time for 2 seconds, and then again someone throws it to the next person, and that's x plus 0.15. And the total time is what? The total time is 7 seconds. So that is the equation that I have right now in front of me. This should boil down to this. That is what I have to show you in the question. So I'm going to do that. I'll first take 2 to the other side and say that this becomes 5. Take a common denominator. Okay, I think that multiplication is relatively simple. So 10x, 10 into 0.5 gives me 5, 15x, and this becomes 5x into x plus 0.5. Cross multiplying gives me this. So let's see, 25x plus 5, 5x square, what's 5 into 0.5? It's 2.5, right? 2.5x. So seems a bit odd, but let's try that out. Okay, so 5x squared plus 2.5x minus 25x plus, sorry, minus 5. 5x squared minus 22.5x equals to 0. Now the problem is that I need a 2 here and I have a 5 here. Okay, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take a 5 common, see what happens. What's 22.5 divided by 5? That gives me 4.5, of course. Okay, I move this 5 to the other side and say that this becomes x squared minus 4.5x minus 1. It's still not the same as this. I know that my x squared got multiplied by 2, so what I'm going to also do is I'm going to multiply everything by 2 on both sides. Okay, like I could divide on both sides, I can also multiply on both sides. So 2x squared minus 9x minus 2. Okay, you would have gotten a 2 directly had you changed 0.5 into half, and you would done the calculations. Let's say if you took a half here, I think you would have gotten the correct answer directly. Okay, that was C. Part D says solve the equation this. So this is now simple quadratic minus b plus minus b square minus 4ac over 2a. So 9 plus minus. I don't need to do this manually. Let's put that on the calculator. X is 4.71 and minus 0.1. Okay, then E part 1, find the average speed in meters per second of the ball as it travels from John to Pierre. So when is it going from John to Pierre? It was at this instant. So John to Pierre was 15 over x plus 0.5. So 15, now again, it's obvious that I can't use the negative value. Why? Because speed cannot be negative. 2.879. Let me check. So this is average speed. My bad. I didn't need to calculate the time. The average speed is just x plus 0.5. So 4.71 plus 0.5. 5.21. Part 1. Part 2. How much longer does it take for the ball from John to Pierre than from Emma to John? So I have to take out both times and then to subtract them. Okay. So time 1 is 10 divided by 4.71. Time 2 is 15 divided by 5.21. That was the new speed, right? So 10 divided by 4.71 gives me 2.123, and 2.879. Can I subtract these two and tell you that what was the additional time? It was 0.756 difference in times. Okay, that was what the question was asking. Okay, question 5. In an athletics match, Ben won the 100-meter race in 9.98 seconds, and Calvin won the 200-meter race in 19.94 seconds. What is the difference in their average speeds? Giving an answer in meters per second, correct to 2 decimal places. Okay, meters per second. So meters and seconds, meters and seconds. Okay, so I just need to find the difference in average speeds. But speed, it's distance over time. So 100 divided by 9.98 minus 200 divided by 19.94. I don't know which one is faster, which one is slower. I could subtract one from the other. The answer could either be negative or positive. I'm going to write down the absolute difference. I'm going to write down that the difference is this. Let's put this on our calculators quickly. It's giving me minus 0.01005. So it says 2 decimal places. I'm just going to write 0.01. That was the difference A negative means that this guy had more speed. So Calvin was faster basically. Okay. Then two cars each complete a journey of 120 kilometers. The first car is driven at an average speed of X. Um, the second car is driven at an average speed of 3 faster than the other car. The first car takes 6 minutes longer to complete the journey. Write down an expression in X and show that it simplifies. Now, in all the previous questions, we've done the same process step by step. It's nothing different. I'm just going to calculate two different times for you, then subtract those times and get an equation out of it. Okay. What about the first car? It traveled 120 and it had a speed of X. So again, I say that this was its time. The other car had an average speed of 3 kilometers faster, so this was X plus 3, and it was traveling the same distance. So the time the second car took was 120 over X plus 3. So obviously, if it had a higher speed, it has to have a lower um, time, basically. So again, I say that T1 was greater than T2. The first car takes 6 minutes longer. It's also told you that. Write down an equation in X. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say that T1 minus T2 equals to 6 minutes. Now, all of these were in hours, so I can't write 6 minutes. I'm going to write 6 divided by 60. Okay, minutes divided by 60, so that I get a total of 1 over 10. 6 over 60 is 1 over 10. Okay, taking a common denominator here. Oh, that's surprising. This one is cancelling out. I just want to be sure I'm doing it right. Let's scroll up and see. Yeah, I think I ran it right. Okay, I cross multiplied 10. I've actually not numbered them, which is a problem. And this was B part 1 right now. Then part 2, solve the equation as before. So A is 1, B is 3, and C is minus 36. So minus B plus minus B square minus 4AC all the way. I'm getting 58.5, okay, one decimal place, minus 61.5. How many minutes does the first car take to travel the 120 kilometers? First car. So that was 120 divided by X, right? So how many minutes? I'm going to say that 120 divided by 58.5. I need to convert that into minutes as well. 2.05. Okay, so 2.05 multiplied by 60 gives me 123.07. That's 123 minutes. Okay, quickly moving on to the next question. We've done a lot of speed time. This is another speed time question. I will probably have more videos on that are related to um, geometry and a lot of mensuration and so on. Okay, we'll talk about those questions as well. I think those are coming up shortly after question 7. Yeah, okay, we'll break that up into a separate video. Question 6. Okay, it says Imran drives a distance of 180 kilometers on a business trip. He drives the first 100 kilometers at an average speed of 8. He drives at an average speed of 5 kilometers slower on the remainder of his journey. So the rest of the speed was x minus 5. Okay, write down an expression in terms of x for the time taken in hours for the first 100 kilometers. So 100 divided by x, distance divided by speed. Given that the journey took a total of 2 hours and 30 minutes, form an equation in x. Uh, and show that it simplifies to this. Okay, so I think that's simple. I can say that the first time, which was what, 100 divided by x. What was the remainder journey? The remainder journey was 80 kilometers because there was a total distance of 180. Okay, and if I add the two times together, what should I be getting? I should be getting 2 hours and 30 minutes. Of course, I can't write 2 hours and 30 minutes. I will have to write one of these units, and because other speeds and distances are in kilometers and hours, I will have to convert this into hours as well. So can I say that that's 2.5 hours? I think that's simple to understand. Okay, or let's say not 2.5. I think that might complicate things a little. 2.5 hours. Okay, so 100 into x minus 5 plus 80 into x. 100x minus 500 plus 80x. 5 over 2. 180x minus 500 into 2 and 5x into x minus 5. 360x minus 1000. 5x square minus 25x. 5x square plus 335 minus, oh, my bad, not rushing through this one. That's 1000. What were we supposed to prove? We were supposed to prove this. Let's see if we're getting this. So 5x square so 5 common. $77. Okay, yeah, we have the answer. Okay, I don't need to solve it further. Now what I need to do is just solve the equation giving an answer correct to 2 decimal places. I need to do that. I have my equation x square minus 77x plus 200. So a is 1, b is minus 77, c is 200. Minus b plus minus root of b square minus 4ac 2a. So that gives me on my calculator 74.31 and 2.69. Okay. Then says which of the solutions in part C represents the speed for the first 100 kilometers of Imran's trip. Now both of these answers are positive. What I notice is that the next speed has to be x minus 5. So if I were to take this, the other speed would become negative, which means that you would travel in the opposite direction. That is what a negative speed implies if you are doing ad math or you're doing physics for that matter. Okay, so this can't be done. So I'm going to say that give a reason for this solution. So 74.31 because 2.69 would make the remaining speed negative. Remaining journey have a negative speed. Okay. And the difference in times between the times for the first part and the second part, I think that's simple. I'm going to say that for part E, 100 over 74.31 minus 80 over 74.31 minus 5. That gives me 0.191. Giving an answer in minutes, multiply by 60. 11.488. I'm going to say 11 minutes. The nearest minute is 11 minutes. Okay. Let's look at the last one for this video. I think this is again something related to speed, time, and cars and so on. Then we'll have a separate video for um, mensuration questions that involve algebra, not mensuration on its own. We'll talk about mensuration on its own in a separate marathon. Okay, express as a single fraction. I think that's simple. So 200 into x plus 4 minus 200 into x. So 200x plus 800 minus 200x, x into x plus 4. Part B. When driven in and down, a car runs x kilometers on each liter of petrol. Find in terms of x the number of liters of petrol used when the car is driven 200 kilometers in and down. So if it runs x kilometers on each petrol and I'm asking you to find the number of liters, the number of liters will be the total journey divided by the kilometers per liter. So that is x. So 200 over x. Okay. Let's say you were driving let's say 8 kilometers on each liter of petrol. When would you complete 200? You would say 200 divided by x. That would give you the number of liters. Or in the previous questions, it used to give us the number of hours because I was giving you a distance and speed. This time I'm giving you a consumption and the distance. So you divide distance by the consumption. When driven out of town, the car runs x plus 4 kilometers, so it runs better. That is true for generally cars as well. That when you are driving at a steady speed and you are outside on better roads, the car has better fuel average. In this case, it also has better fuel average. It's running x plus 4 kilometers. For example, if I said 8 before, it's now running 12 kilometers on each liter of petrol. Okay, when driven out, the car runs x plus 4 kilometers on each liter of petrol. It uses 5 liters less petrol to go 200 kilometers out of town than to go 200 kilometers in town. So this is in town. Let's also write out of town so that we know what we are talking about. 200 over x plus 4. So it says it uses 5 liters petrol to go 200 kilometers out of town than to go 200 kilometers in town. Uses information. So I'm going to say that in town is a bigger expense than out of town. And how much bigger is the expense? It is a difference of 5 liters. Okay, so you need 5 liters more to be traveling inside town than to be traveling outside town. So I'm going to say that 200 over x minus 200 over x plus 4 equals to 5. Now luckily for me, I have solved this before. I know from the first part that I can get x over x plus 4 and 800 on top equals to 5. I can then cross multiply it. I can also actually do this. 5 times 1, 5 times 800 divided by 5 is 160, I think. Yeah, 160. I can also do this. That sort of simplifies the question directly. So you can do that on the exam as well. It's not wrong. You just, canceling out, taking out factors and canceling out early. So x into x plus 4. So that gives me x squared plus 4x minus 160. Okay. Then in part C, I have to solve this equation. I think that's simple to solve. A is 1, B is 4, C is minus 160. So minus b plus minus root of b square minus 4ac over 2a. So x is 10.806. What does it say? 81. Correct to two decimal places. And minus 14.81. Obviously, consumption can't be negative. The next part, I'm probably going to discard this as well. It says part D, calculate the total volume of petrol used when the car is driven 400 kilometers in town and then 120 kilometers out of town. Okay, 40 kilometers in town, so 40 over 10.81, and then 120 over 10.81 plus 4. I'll ignore the negatives. Why? Because consumption can't be negative. Yeah, okay. 40 over 10.81 plus 120 over. So I'm getting 11.8 liters of petrol. Pretty significant figures. Okay. Okay, that's the first video on this topic. There will be two more at least. One with a lot of mensuration questions, and the second with some different types of questions. Then, and I hope to see you in the next video as well. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching these videos, and help me grow my channel. Thank you.